Hello, my name is Alan. My pronouns are he, him, and today I'm facilitating the second of 4 sessions of my own game Against the Dark Conspiracy, a game of supernatural espionage and thriller action, an homage in many ways to Knights Black Agents. And we are playing in this series against the Vampire Conspiracy, and we are specifically, because this is part of a kind of growing continuity, we are in a series called Finding Throndal. Throndal is a known vampire. The team want to take him off the board. This game, like most of my games, was organized as part of the Gauntlet online role-playing community's monthly calendar. If you don't know about the Gauntlet, please search Gauntlet-RPG and you will find all about us. And if you've never played with us, please, come and have a go. There is I think in March, we have the next Gauntlet Open Gaming Gauntlet Community Open Gaming Weekend where you can come and play with us. But we are public facing, though I will admit that if you back the Patreon, then you get priority access to games. There's a 72-hour window, I think, when only Patreons at a certain level can book a seat. So that's the Gauntlet. Because we're playing with the Gauntlet, and frankly, because it's good practice, we're playing with layered safety tools, and we're also playing within the Gauntlet's code of conduct, which I sometimes jokingly describe as don't be a dick, but it is about respectful playing. And I will just remind the players that we are playing with lines. I'm not going to go into lines and veils. Go back to session 1 if you want to get the skinny on lines and veils and how we use them. We have lines on sexual assault and violence, homophobia, racism, sexism, transphobia, and misogyny, which I keep hearing type in there. Infection or plague is a major plot point, though we are not counting infection by a vampire as part of that. We also have a line on torture by player characters, cannibalism, and detailed descriptions of deliberate blunt force head trauma. And then we have veils, where we'll just fade to black rather than have the detail in the narrative, on harm to children, peril to pregnant women and infants, consensual sex, domestic violence, torture by non-player characters. And I should say that, this is a game about people who made their living in the overlapping realms of espionage and crime before they discovered that there was a conspiracy behind normal life. And so these are not necessarily nice people. So as well as content warnings on vampires and law and their lore, horror and gore, there could also be a lot of tension, potential fisticuffs and physical or abusive violence between player characters, operators in this game, and they may abuse non-player characters as part of this. Because as I say, they may be the heroes of our story, but they are not necessarily nice people. I just pause. My wife has been good enough to bring me a cup of tea. Thank you. That's the safety tools we're playing with. We're also playing with the X card. I've played with all these players before. They know the X card. Best way to show me is that. If it crops up in the chat and I don't notice it, please draw my attention to it. And we're playing with the open door, which means that life goes on behind us. If you need to walk away, great, we'd love to have you back. But also, if this turns out not to be the game you thought it was going to be, please don't stay. This is not a community where we like people to grin and bear it. We want people to come and enjoy and stay to enjoy. So that's my opening spiel. We'll pick up where we left off last time after we meet our players and their operators. So I think I started on the far left last time. I'm doing my best to vary my order. So I'm going to start this time. Will, say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to Anton Zakpal.
Hi, my name is Will, pronouns he, him, as are those of Anton Zakpal, who is a former occult assassin who believed he was fighting the darkness, but had secretly been co-opted by the conspiracy, and now he seeks to make amends and strike back at the real darkness. He is, if you've been following Alan's games for a very long time, you may recognize the last name and the conspiracy, but otherwise it's probably only going to make sense to me and Alan. And various other people who's played. So
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. I think his grandfather cropped up in a World War II game of mine long ago and far away. Though perhaps not too far geographically from where we might be. So thank you, Will. Let's move along. Let's go to Anders. Say hello, tell us your pronouns, and introduce us to Timothy Warrens.
Hello, I'm Anders. I use he, him. I am playing Timothy Warrens, former Catholic priest who used to investigate saints and then some darker things. But he had some questions about his handlers' ideas about who they should go after, and then he was kicked out. So now he is no longer a priest. So he's no longer Father Timothy. He's now Big Daddy Tim, as we established in the chat. Not really. I don't think you would appreciate that, but who knows? Yeah, last time he jumped out the second story window based on a bad feeling, and I still feel good about that.
Absolutely, the power of faith is a great thing. You could have believed the hacker, or you could have believed what you thought, and you went with personal instinct. A brave decision, but it went fine in the end. So what the heck. Continue to move along. Puckett, say hello. Tell us about your pronouns. Introduce us to Mia Smith.
Hi there, I'm Puckett. I use he, him pronouns. Today I'll be playing Mia Smith, who has been around in various forms in many, many games on the Gauntlet, dating back to Uncanny Echoes, which was run by Donna and Alan played in. So, that's where Mia came from. But Mia learned about the weird stuff exists in the world in that game, and has carried that knowledge forward with her through every game that she has been in since. She worked for the CIA for a little bit and kept taking leaves of absence to go, chase down leads on things the CIA thought were ridiculous, like vampires. But spoiler alert, vampires exist. And after she left the CIA, she decided, what the hell? I might as well do this semi-full time when I'm not clerking at a bookstore in Baja California.
Because, your contact with the conspiracy so far has been pretty disgusting. They're not nice people.
No, they're not. And it's not that I'm a particularly nice person either. It's just that I'm pretty good about targeting my not niceness at people who have come by it honestly.
Indeed so. There's different kinds of not nice. Okay, and round we go then. Sabine, say hello, tell us about your pronouns, and introduce us to Dylan Herbst.
Hi, my name is Sabine. I use any pronouns. I'm playing Dylan, who uses he, him pronouns. Dylan, if you met him, you would think he's really a nice fellow, really. And he would like that because he is good at making people think that he's a really nice fellow. That's actually what he was doing in the agency. And it's not even now. He's just going in and telling people, hey, I'm a nice person, trust me. And then he's kind of stabs them in the back or steals some stuff from them. It's just, But otherwise, other than that, he's a very nice person. He has a hat shop in Baja California. And if you need a hat, maybe hit up Ciudad Señando. Come by, get a hat. He's good with that.
And he just enjoys the chase, doesn't he? He's just in this for the thrill.
Yes. I mean, selling hats is fun and all, but sometimes you need a little more excitement.
Indeed,
yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And in terms of excitement, I think we probably cut to where we left off last time. Previously on Against the Vampire Conspiracy, as an ambulance screeches away from a hospital, secure psychiatric hospital on the edge of Munich, screeches away with, I can't remember, is it Anton driving while Timothy leapt into the back with Dylan and the person you rescued, a missing graduate student, Rajesh Chowdhury. Mia, I think, is still in the team's car and sets off after them. My question is, where, if anywhere, do you intend to interrogate friend Rajesh? Because I will remind you that your operational objective for this first operation was to find Rajesh's research notes. You were, being the people you are, more interested in what he knew than in him. So who's in the back? Dylan, And
Just to go back on that, what would have been a good point to ask you to reframe that? Because I didn't mean to. I just didn't want to interrupt your flow.
I should have asked you before you went into the hospital.
Because I would have reframed it as find out what Rajesh knows rather than the notes, you know?
I think that's very fair. Let me find out what Rajesh knows, because I think that's very true. There we go.
I mean,
that's
whether or not this mission is destroy his notes so that nobody else can find that out is a different, we'll see. Yeah.
Exactly so. Exactly so. So, so currently we are still at the end of that operation. We have potentially one scene left, which is questioning Rajesh. Now you remember that Rajesh was drugged to the eyeballs while being interrogated by the conspiracy. So, and I think I'm right in saying, Dylan, that you jabbed him with some more, you know, sleepy, because there was some concern about why was the room he was in blacked out.
I was more concerned that he was thrashing about and yelling, and was not quite in the shape where you would want him to try to talk him down instead of just hitting him with some drugs and letting chemicals do the work.
So I think it's tricky to imagine that you're going to be able to get much out of him in the back of the ambulance before pushing him out the back.
I mean, we could always give him some amphetamines.
Well, my question is, do you want to call on a medic contact to try and sober him up and calm him down and get him questionable, or do you want to just let the drugs run through him in the hope that he comes out the other end?
I think we have the time, right? I mean, is there somebody after us?
No. You know, there's chaos, and I think I described sirens approaching, but no one's going to stop an ambulance, I would have thought at this point, unless you do something rash. So as far as I'm concerned, you are home free. All I'm interested now in is how and where you're going to try and find out what Rajesh knows, I suppose.
I guess get somewhere to a hiking parking space and just hang out there until he gets back to himself.
I mean, I'll be honest with you.
Nobody's got a bad idea.
Given the condition he's in, I think you're talking about hours, possibly overnight, before he comes, because they doped him way up.
And I doped him way down.
And you doped him some more, yeah.
Anton, it would like to take him back to the safe house because this is a victim that we have rescued in his eyes.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. We didn't define our safe house, I noticed last time.
No, the only thing you defined is that it has a stash of heavy weapons because you declared a grenade. So we know it's got heavy weapons. So no, that's an excellent place to start. Let me do it in the same order then. Let me start with Will. And Will, what is the safe house like?
The safe house is where are we? We're in
Munich.
Munich, of course. It is a in between, you know, like the railway arches. It's like a old, you know, workshopy warehouse thing in between in the railway arches. Okay,
if you want to put down what's this place like, it's an old workshop or warehouse underneath the railway arches. That will do very nicely. Let me ask Anders, as we kind of see the ambulance coming into this area and this area of railway arches, who's vulnerable nearby? If the conspiracy were to hit this safe house, who might the innocent bystanders who got caught up in that be?
Sorry, I didn't get the location exactly. You said railway arches.
Yeah, I mean, it sounds like, well, go on. So, you know, I don't know if they have them with, but, you know, like tunnels in between the railways, right? But they're buildings instead. So underneath the railway tracks, you've got like they build stuff underneath it, basically, where there's an elevated train.
Yeah, okay.
My first ever gaming shop was underneath one in Wimbledon and in Waterloo, and it was very, very loud.
I doubt that's in Munich, but you get the idea.
Okay. I mean, would that be a place where you had like shops or what kind of?
Yeah,
I mean,
the
maybe
ones
there's
near me
a
have garages and things in as well. There's also train tracks right above us, of course.
Yeah.
maybe that some of these arches are their old workshops. Some of them are empty. Some of them are used as lock-up garages. Some of them are storage spaces. Maybe some of them are shops. You know, with rollers on the front.
Yeah.
Maybe there's
And
a
I
street market here.
I think there's like a small tobacconist that's housed in something that may have been a storage unit at some point. It's a really tiny place with an elderly couple who runs it.
Sorry, I don't know why I'm typing this in. You type it in. I've tiny tobacconist run. So if you can just tell us that it's run by a couple of older people, that'd be great. Moving along.
Sorry, where do I put this?
Oh, sorry. If you go far right on the character keeper, go beyond Mia, and you'll find the safe house. It's on column AT of the operator tab.
Oh, on the tab. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
Puckett, so you know, we see people coming and going from the tobacconist. It's probably a really kind of niche specialist kind of tobacconist. Only some people know about it. It's, you know, but what single thing reassures you that this safe house is safe?
Okay. Will, let me know if this is okay. Would it be safe to assume that Anton would have put sigils and runes over all the doorways and entrance points and such to basically offer some sort of occult protection against vampires?
I think I need to step in mechanically here.
Okay.
Not unless he wants to take the risk of casting those spells.
Ooh. Magic comes at a price, of
Yeah.
course.
So we're talking here largely about physical, you know, lines
However,
of sight, exits, entries, whatever.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose you could say that what single thing reassures me most is that it's a confluence of ley lines that gives bad energy towards whatever, right?
Is that fair, that Anton has assured us that the confluence of ley lines in this location is itself a natural reward?
You can certainly put down it's the confluence of some ley lines. We'll find out how effective that is when the hit squad arrives.
You better be right about this, Anton. I shall be very cross with you if you are not.
I mean, I guess maybe push comes to shove, it gives me fictional positioning to do some cool magic with that when they arrive. Yeah.
Exactly. So coming round to Dylan, Sabine, why does Dylan think this isn't an ideal safe house?
The point is that it's kind of hard. It's in a cul-de-sac. It's not, you get one, there's one way to get in and one way to get out, which lets us control the egress, of course, but which also might trap us. And we haven't yet found, I mean, we're working on blowing up some kind of way through to the sewers or some railway tunnels, but we haven't gotten there quite yet. And if we have to do it in a hurry, well, we might have to blow up the safe house itself. So
okay, so if you can fill something in there, why isn't this place ideal? Something around cul-de-sac, one way in, one way out, that would be great, just as an aid memoir. And Puckett, if you thank you, confluence of ley lines. Anton has assured us that the confluence of ley lines here is a natural ward against vampires. Great. I wonder how it works against ex-Navy SEALs. And because you declared some equipment that had the heavy tag last time, that means that this safe house has a stash of heavy weapons. Anders, this is your first time with the game, so I will just explain that anything that is necessary for you to use your expertise. So for instance, your burglary background, you have intrusion. So you have a burglary kit whenever you want it, right? That's always there, in the same way that Mia always has access to a laptop or tablet or something similar. You also have stuff that is basic. So, you know, handguns, that kind of stuff. But anything that is heavy weapons has the heavy tag, automatic weapons, or tech equipment and explosives. That is something the safe house gives you as a benefit, or one of those is. So you have heavy weapons. So anything you find in the equipment list with the heavy tag, you can access. Anything other, automatic weapons, tech equipment, or explosives, that will require a call and a contact to get a fixer to supply it. Okay. Cut to the safe house. It was the end of the working day when you went in, if you remember. So I'm guessing that you wait for the fall of dark, and therefore you get Rajesh into the safe house, and then the ambulance drives away. And Anton, do you dump it or do you leave it outside? I suppose I should ask, just out of curiosity.
The ambulance?
Yeah.
I haul open the door and I drive it inside.
Okay. And that leaves
Can't leave an ambulance, a stolen ambulance on the street.
No, that's very true.
Well, but now we have an ambulance.
You have an ambulance. And Mia, I guess you park around the corner and just walk over because the car is relatively unobtrusive.
And I would suggest that we probably leave Rajesh in the ambulance because it then provides us with a comfortable bed, medical supplies, all kinds of things, right?
I love it.
Yeah.
I love
it. Do these things have GPS though? Yeah. Can you please look? I don't want the ambulance to be found
I think
here.
that probably comes down to Mia, doesn't it? Using Mia's technical expertise. Yeah. Mia, do you want to make sure that no one can track this ambulance?
Oh, hell yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I didn't know they were going to steal it. I didn't know they were going to park it there. If I'd known they were going to do that, I would have been doing it on the drive over. But
well, let's hope nobody's noticed yet. And let's find out by rolling some dice. So you get the gray dice. You have appropriate expertise. Stress dice if you'd like to add it. I will remind you, you are currently on 4 stress.
Yeah, so I am. Yeah, I'm going to include the stress die.
Go for it. Oh,
there's a 6 on the gray die.
Fine. So this ambulance is now clean. They cannot track this ambulance because I'm certain it probably does have some kind of link back to headquarters. So the 6 gives you that. What do you want the extra benefit to be?
I have a suggestion if you don't have one, book it.
Well, let's hear your suggestion because I have an idea, but I want to see what you think.
Mine would just be to you basically spoof the thing so that they're chasing some other car all the way around town, like lead them the wrong way.
Okay, so let me ask you this. Which do we think would be more useful? Spoofing the address and putting it on a number of vehicles heading out of the city, or actually like faking the registry so that that ambulance was never owned by that company so you can use it if we need it?
Ambulances aren't usually in company. They're usually, I think, state possessed by state or by the hospitals or something like that. So I would be worried there are no free ambulance driving around. I don't think so.
I come from the US where a lot of that stuff is actually privatized. So
that was exactly what I was going to say, Bucket.
No.
So I'm interested in this conversation between Dylan and Mia, where Dylan is explaining to Mia, no, that's not how it works here.
It's not. But can you, if somebody tries to track it, can you maybe get a ping on who actually tries to access this information?
We can do a backtrace quite easily.
Okay. Okay. So
I see Anders nodding. I see Will even nodding a little bit.
Yeah. So rather than it spoofing it to somewhere else, it's basically like a honey trap almost. If they look for it, it won't find us, but we'll know that they looked for it and who looked for it.
You will know where they are, maybe. Okay. Fine. Mark intel because you got a 6. Okay. Something, but what is it about this that worries you enough to make you roll for stress? Because that is the other joyous benefit of a 6.
Well, they stole this ambulance from that hospital. So to me, that suggests that this hospital is somehow connected to the conspiracy more deeply than we think, and it may involve state-level sponsors.
And I suppose, Timothy, when you remind them that you saw the Throndal coat of arms carved into the wall in the older part of the hospital, perhaps that is reinforcing that sense of some connection, not just between the conspiracy, but maybe between Throndal and that hospital. and the state. Yeah, that's good enough to roll for stress, I think. So pick a dice that you hope you like or likes you.
I said I don't just mark it automatically. Okay.
No, you don't.
That's because
only if the stress, only if you rely on the stress for the outcome, and you didn't.
Gotcha. Okay. So give me a moment here to uncheck the stress that I marked. And I'll just roll this gray die because it's been good to me.
Okay.
That is a 4, which is equal to my current stress.
But it's not higher than, so stress doesn't go up. Brilliant. So all is well with Mia. Okay. So it looks like you're as safe as you can be at the minute. I have marked the safe house as a target because once you make use of its benefit, it becomes a potential target for the conspiracy. So this is safe for now. And so you just sit it out until he begins to make some sense, or do you want to try and help him?
I think we should try and help him at least a little, just like giving him an IV with fluids and stuff like that. Nothing too fancy. We're not I think none of us is a medic.
The closest we have to that is technical expertise. Do we want to rely on Mia to try and sober him up?
So one of my contacts is in fact a medic.
Well, all it would take would be a stress in order to call on that contact.
Do we want to get him sober quicker?
If you get a medic, I will have him sober within an hour or so.
But we don't need that badly. I mean, do we? Are we in that much of a hurry? I mean, exposing the safe house and the trash to another person.
Oh, your contacts are solid gold. Surely Carla wouldn't let you down, Mia.
Of course, yeah, but you know, the less people, the better.
Dylan's not wrong.
So sit it out.
Can I spend a stress to call in? Just because Mia's all the way up on the stress already.
Yeah.
And
as long as Mia doesn't mind you calling on one of her contacts, you can spend the stress.
Why would I mind? I mean, it's not like we agreed to be exclusive. I mean,
No.
It's an open source relationship.
yeah, so I was just looking back over the magic rules and wondering, do I just use magic to cure him? I mean, that would be an interesting thing, wouldn't it?
Well,
I mean, we are doing a playtest, aren't we, of this?
we are.
Yeah.
You want to harness the dark.
Oh, but I have to mark stress for that, don't I? Anyways.
You do.
Yeah, and there's more of a risk. Never mind. There we go.
You need a long spoon to sup with the dark. So yeah, let's have Carla turn up at the. I don't know if we ever described Carla. Who is what do we see when Carla turns up, Mia? She's your contact.
She rolls up in a beat up hatchback. You know, I mean, it's pretty obvious that she doesn't make a lot of money. She gets out. She has curly brown hair, green eyes. She's about 5'7", so she's a little taller than average. And she carries herself in a way that, you know, you can see her looking for trouble. Not in the sense of people attack you or anything like that, but doing risk assessment, like, is that flower pot likely to fall on someone's head?
Okay. And she will, you know, open a little bag of tricks that she has in a little rucksack, and she looks at me and she says, what did this guy is hyped up on all kinds of stuff. What have you been doing, Mia?
I did nothing. He was hospitalized by some people who had him there against his will.
Yeah. Well,
he was in rehab, you know.
Well, he might need to be in rehab after this. But she will flush the system. She will give him a cocktail of medication that will begin to calm him, not just put him to sleep, and begin to counteract the kind of stuff that they were filling him full of to try and get his cooperation. And she leaves and says, you know, give him an hour or so to sleep, and then he should be okay. Nice to see you, Mia. See you around. Drives away in the
Absolutely.
hatchback. And true to Carla's best guess, 90 minutes later, Rajesh, Dylan, you actually strapped him down on that gurney, didn't you? Because he was really thrashing about.
He was thrashing about. I will loosen the straps so that he can move about, but not quite loosen them up all the way, because we don't know what he's going through, and if he goes with a fight or flight response when he first comes to, we don't need that kind of trouble.
Timothy, I'm going to assume that you kind of take turns just keeping an eye on him across this 90 minutes. So when he begins to kind of where am I? What do we see Timothy doing?
I think he'll go into like gentle interrogation mode. And start to question him, but not in an aggressive manner. And he'll have his kindly priest voice on, but he's asking questions and not giving any answers.
Fine. Well, that is the way interrogation scenes work. You've told me how you're doing it. We move to the investigation move. I'm not really seeing that your expertise makes you very good at this. You could spot a saint at 600 yards, but in terms of you know, you do the best priest bit. But it's been a long time since you properly did confession. You know, that's not the kind of business you were in. So you don't have expertise going for you. So it's just the grey dice, unless you choose to include the stress dice.
I'll just I'll go with one die. I'm sure
Okay.
everything will be fine.
Absolutely. What could go wrong?
So I'm rolling the
one in the middle.
One in the middle. Okay, let's do that.
Yeah, there you go.
Everything's fine.
Okay, so you get the basic information you need to proceed, which I think is that the last thing Rajesh remembers is he parked his car and he was heading towards the central library, and then a car pulled up, someone tapped him on the shoulder, and then somebody put a bag over his head, and that's about all that he remembers. And he doesn't, you know, he's got blurry, dreamlike, hallucinogenic kind of memories of what happened after that. So that's what you get for nothing. But for a 5, you can also ask me a question or ask me to tell you something that might be interesting. Oh, you are muted. You're muted, Andash.
Did we still want his notes, or did we wanted to know what he knows, right?
Can you find out what he knows? I think is the operational objective that you would have ended up with. Yeah.
Yeah, you can also define what he knows with this, you know, so like to some extent.
Just because we are using a prepped plot arc, I might have to veto your creation.
You can suggest the detail, let's put it that way. Yeah.
But I'll do my best to work with.
Yeah, I think I just want to hear something interesting.
The Stasi doesn't exist anymore, does it? They weren't to do with them, were they?
That seems unlikely.
It's a long story. Just don't assume anything.
Because who else would grab me off the street like that? I mean, I was just trying to find some records. So what I think you get from this conversation, Timothy, is that Rajesh was looking for some files. Now, all the Stasi files are supposed to be online, but somehow he's discovered there's a gap in that record. Okay, seem fair? Okay, and that conversation, I think, will attract the attention of the rest of you. And when you get back there, I'm guessing Timothy, given the approach he took, will have removed any other restraints, and Rajesh will be sitting up, looking very pale and wan, and slightly kind of confused in the back of the ambulance. Who wants to be part of this interrogation next?
I would like to be part of this interrogation next.
You will all get a crack at it. All I need to know is how do we see you approaching the conversation then? Because let's not call it an interrogation. Let's call it a conversation.
Yeah, I will be friendly. I will give him a Coke maybe, so that he can get his blood sugar up, and listen a bit about him complaining about this ordeal and how terrible that whole thing was, and what they hit him up, and how and that he must have had some very interesting. He must have had a very interesting find, and we might actually be curious about that. But it's a friendly kind of conversation where I talk and he talks, and I wanted him to spill. But I want him also to think that I'm his friend.
Of course, and who wouldn't want Dylan as his friend? Because you have persuasion as an expertise, so you are rolling with expertise, which may mean that you don't feel the need to include the stress dice. Up to you.
I don't think I want. I don't want. I would like to include the deadly explosive, but I can't really work it into the fiction. So I'm just rolling these two. And it's a 5. There's a 5.
Yes, he'd been searching, because he's a grad student at Stanford, so he'd been searching online, because part of the thread of his thesis is that he's looking at those really powerful Austro-Hungarian 19th century families.
Mm-hmm.
And his idea is that though 2 world wars have come and gone, Europe has changed it of all recognition, that there's still a great deal of power influence locked up in those families, in those family trees. And there's a peculiar gap. The great thing about the Stasi records is there's stuff in there about everybody. But he couldn't find anything about a Count Throndal, who you can trace back, way back into the 1700s. So that's what you get for nothing, is that the problem is that the published Stasi files contain nothing on Throndal. But you can also ask me a question, or make a suggestion of where this takes you, or you can ask me to tell you something interesting. I hope interesting.
I would want to know what was he doing in Munich? Because of all the Stasi records are online, he hadn't any need to come to Munich, right? But there obviously he saw the need. So or was he just a tourist?
He was making some inquiries, and someone approached him to say that there were, that if he went to Munich, he would meet them in the library, in the central library in Munich. And that they would be able to point him in the direction where those records were. But they insisted that he turn up.
And that's when he was snatched, right?
That's when he was snatched, yeah.
Oh, okay. Interesting. Very interesting.
Dr. Bellefleur.
Bellefleur. Sounds French. And he didn't know this for a person previously.
No, not at all. I mean, not somebody that he knows from the field of study.
Now,
but then he was. This isn't a main field of study. He just he was just using the Stasi records as a research base. His knowledge and understanding of all of that is negligible.
Okay, and the Bellefleur person approached him. How did he say he knew him?
Email.
Oh, he just brought an email and said, "Hey, I noticed that you look into this."
He said that he understood that I'd been, looking, that because I asked a lot of people, how could something be missing from the files? Because everyone tells me they're absolutely complete. You've got almost, day by day records of what some people were doing, and yet no mention of these people. And so I'd been asking anyone I knew. And he
Okay.
said that a friend of a friend who was in a related
Okay.
field, you know,
Okay.
had mentioned my name, and that's why I was in Munich. And I'll admit that I was hoping to spend the rest of the summer, you know, in Europe.
Oh, yeah, I get it. It's a pretty town.
And I turn up, and a bunch of people kidnap me off the street. And I think that's the first time at which he kind of looks at you, and he's in an ambulance. Are you still dressed as a doctor, Dylan?
Am I still dressed? I don't think so. No, this needs a different kind of approach here.
Okay. And where am I now?
You're in an ambulance. Look, Mr. What's his last name? Mr.
Rajesh Chaudhry.
Yeah, you stumbled into something that has a lot of people very interested. Some of these people, let's say we're the nice ones.
Okay.
And I hope that when we have talked, and maybe you can go your way and have a nice visit of Munich, have a beer. But you should be careful about this thing.
I just want to get on a plane home. I want to get on a plane home.
That might be the better idea. Yeah. There are very fine Oktoberfests in the US, I hear.
Is it Mia or Anton wants to have the next? I
feel like it makes sense for me to jump in.
Okay. So does Dylan stay there while Mia does some questioning? Because Dylan has made a good impression. You know, Timothy, bless him, is not the most personable of individuals compared to Dylan. So, you know, having a friendly face might make this a bit easier.
I feel like it would.
So sure, Mia, what kind of approach? His friend now.
What kind of approach, Mia, do you take? And you know, are you in your sinister dark hoodie?
I'm in my standard clothes, and I just look at him and say, "What kind of fucking dipshit are you? Someone emails you out of the blue, says, I heard through a friend of a friend of a friend that you were looking for this, and you fly. You did you even know who you were looking for? Did you have a picture of them? I mean, dude, did you do any kind of basic internet OPSEC?
What's OPSEC?
You don't even know what Belfleur looks like, do you?
And the blood is kind of draining out his face as he, you know.
He's just a kid. Christ. He's just a kid, Mia.
He's a grad student at Stanford.
He's not.
I thought they turned out smart people there.
Yeah, he is not that kind of smart.
Listen, Rajesh, I'm sure you're a nice person. So let me give you some advice. The next time you go on Tinder and you match with someone, before you go on the date, have them send you a picture with something specific that you've requested in it. Like, you know, their name and the date, or today's newspaper, or something like that. Because, goddamn, son, catfishing you was so easy. And they got you to fly to Munich to do it. I mean, there's people back in Palo Alto that'll do that stuff to you. They'll just fucking rob you. I mean,
but this is Europe. It's Germany.
And your point? You realize there's bad people everywhere, right?
I thought it would be safe here.
Oh, God. And at this point, I just look at him like he's a little puppy. And I'm just like, and I'll actually put my hand on his shoulder and say, listen, you came here, you got kidnapped. You're lucky, because as it turns out, we're looking for the people who kidnapped you.
So, are you the police?
Not exactly, but let's just table that, because let's say that we are interested parties, and while they kidnapped you,
is this some kind of CIA thing?
Well, actually, And I think for 6, yeah.
Oh, I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
Listen. All we want to know is what you know. And just so you know, the people who kidnapped you, we've basically unkidnapped you.
Hang on, I just want to check in. Sabine, did you drop out and drop back in then?
Apparently I did, yes. I did not intentionally do that, but
okay. You just moved about on the screen. Sorry, Puckett.
That's
Go
okay.
ahead, Mia.
So listen, I'm not going to tell you what we're doing, so you don't have to worry about that. This is not one of those, if we told you we'd have to kill you things. Although, you know what, you've had a bad day. You don't need to know about that stuff. All you need to know is that you're smart and you have information we're looking for. And we've basically unkidnapped you and gotten all the junk that they shot you up with out of your system. So I'll tell you what, once you've told us what we need to know, one of us will drive you to the airport. We'll put you on the plane. We'll make sure you get on it. We'll watch it take off just to make sure it goes.
Okay.
We'll make sure you get home.
I mean,
or at least
the moment,
back to the States.
He's dressed in a kind of hospital, robe. But I am curious, was that seek relief from the horror by behaving badly, followed by investigate?
Yes.
Okay, so let's have you roll a d6, reduce stress by 1, because if you verbally or physically abuse someone, roll the dice. Pick one that you like or likes you.
All right, so I reduced stress by 1 already.
Automatically.
Okay, so let me flip back over to the operators tab. I will reduce my stress by 1. And I mean, God, this guy's gullible. I mean, and that's a 5.
On a 5, okay, 4+ and they are an NPC. I will mark heat because somehow something is going to get back to the conspiracy. Now I'm struggling a little bit at the moment to see how that's going to happen, but I'm guessing that at some point you're going to have to let him out of your sight.
Yeah, when he goes back, he is less careful because he's pissed off at the telling, or he does OPSEC in an entirely stupid way, like he's in a spy movie or something,
Suddenly looks.
Or he just gets on Twitter and posts about things that you wouldn't believe.
Trust me, don't go to Munich. And
his Twitter account's locked. It's not like he only has like 45 followers. Who could possibly like screenshot that and send it someplace else? I mean, that's secure, right?
And let's move on then to see whether you can get anything out of him after that. So
right.
I'm not seeing any expertise at work, because that sounded like authority at work, to be honest. So it's the grey dice, stress dice if you'd like it.
I mean, I did bust his chops about not even getting a picture or anything like that.
You did.
So you sure I can't use expertise? Because
no,
I was.
You've had the benefit of that for your stress, because you're not very good at intimidation. You're just nasty.
You're not wrong. All right, so I'll just roll that gray die again.
Okay.
That's a 1.
Oh, right. So you will get the basic information that you need to proceed. And I will mark more heat.
Is there any way that I can use intel to change that?
You could. Well, you might have a chance to spend some intel in a bit, but not right now.
Okay. Right.
What you could do, I'm struggling to see how you'll make it narratively work. You could call on a contact who might give you access to a reroll, but I'm struggling to see how that's going to fly. So he's really pissed off at you, and he's going to talk to people about what's happened to him in Munich, and that's going to get back somehow down the road. And all you get really is, well, they probably took the stuff from my car anyway. Right. So presumably he had some notes in or other records in his car.
And at this point, I'll just throw up my hands and it's like, you know what? Whatever, dude. I mean, you're welcome. And I'll walk off. leaving Dylan to do the good cop part.
And he's, you know, Rajesh, but I'm the one who was kidnapped.
Yeah, and we're the ones who got you out. It wasn't that easy.
Jeez.
Okay.
And I guess, Anton, we see Mia, you know, storm out the back of the ambulance, slam the door behind her, leaving the field free for you if you want to have a crack at him.
Yeah. You know, I'd like to riff on what Puckett did and roll a stress and investigation together. And I would like to, you know, have we unstrapped Rajesh at this point? Yes, thank God. Otherwise, this is a very different conversation. And I'd like to say, she means well. Let me tell you about, you know, the first time I met Mia. Well, I didn't really meet her, but she taught me, she helped me. I was much like you. People were after me, and I needed help. And Mia's skills, well, they've kept me safe. And I'd like to reveal some of my history together with my operator, which is to say that Mia, you know, like when I was
before you get started, that means that you are selecting Mia as either the person in the team you care most about or the person you care least about. Which of those?
I think, you know what, I'll go with I care most about Mia. Why not?
Okay. So if you reveal something, if you reveal something new about your history with an operator you care most or least about, work your way through this series of recollections as flashbacks. So which of these do you want to use as the key to your flashback?
Well, so we work it way through it, right? So it's the first recollection.
I think it makes more sense that way, but
yeah, which is a kind of you know, in the Matrix, like Mr. Anderson, go left, go right, kind of like giving messages over the thing. And it is when Anton tried to, in desperation, as he was fleeing, you know, the operation where he got burned, and he just had nebulous things about, you know, a friend will help you and something, right? And when he was trying to get through the airport, he just found doors opened for him. There were messages flashing up on his phone, and then when he got to the what's it called? You know, the terminal, the place where you check in on the airplane. Someone had already altered the system to get him onto a completely different flight than the one that Edom was going to extract him from.
And that turned out to be Mia.
Yeah, that turned out to be Mia. Yeah.
Okay, so you reduce your stress by 1, and then roll a d6 that likes you, and let's see what the consequences of that, or whether we get more narrative out of it.
That is a 6.
Okay, 4 plus. The other operator describes a different version of the event. They say why they are hurt by what you've described, and they roll for stress. Mia rolls for stress, or Mia can alternatively choose to add something about their anchor to their recollection, and they mark their anchor instead. And we'll come to 6 in a bit. So Mia, either you can put a different spin on this, or you can begin to put your anchor in the crosshairs. What would you prefer?
So I'm going to go ahead and mark my anchor.
Okay.
Because this is a trick that Show taught me. And like just basically how to own the messaging system at an airport. So, you know, overhead there'd be like the little digital boxes streaming messages, and you know, just pop up like turn left now, turn right, and you know, like flight notifications. You know, this flight canceled. Go here.
I just have visions of that, those kind of flight was tick, 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 tick.
Yep.
Anton, turn right.
Yep. And it was really quick stuff like that, popping up just as he needed it and vanishing just as quickly.
Okay.
So, but yeah, Show taught me that trick.
Well, then let's mark Show as a target for the conspiracy. And
Show's used to that.
Oh yeah. I can't go off after him unless I spend heat.
Good thing
And
you don't
I'm
have
so
any
close.
heat, right?
Only 7. And the next one will allow people to start coming after you. So why would I spend the heat now? But Anton, so that gives us a sense of the relationship you have with Mia.
Yeah, and you know, I'm Amelia. I'm trying to apologize on her behalf and try and calm her just down. And I would like to talk, you know, and I'd like to start reeling off kind of you know, dynasties and names and links between the European families, things that I know from law. As I ask him, you know, I try and like engage him with his academic study, and I try and find out what has he found out about the Throndal bloodline so far, you know?
Okay, that's quite cunning, I think, because I was wondering where you're going to go. But yes, I think that there will be an overlap between what you know about the supernatural and what he was looking at in terms of Throndal. So yeah, I'm going to let you roll with expertise.
And obviously Rajesh doesn't recognize the supernatural aspect that he may have stumbled upon, but I would see a different set of eyes at that. One thing, I did roll a 6 on that thing, so I've lowered my 2 stress. Do I also have to roll for stress? No. Do I mark intel?
I can't remember what it says, which is embarrassing. Reduce stress by extra 1. No, that's all you get for that one, I'm afraid.
Cool.
Well remembered.
Yeah. And then, yeah, I will roll with my expertise even, and the normal dice. That is a 3 and a 1. So I am going to mark a stress back up again to call in a contact. And my contact is going to be a fellow what are they called? Librarian? Yeah, a fellow librarian. I was like, Mr. Blake, but I've already got him down as my anchor. I don't want to do that.
You can't do 2 things.
I tell you what, let's call it Mrs. Kellerberg, who is just a fairly mundane librarian who just is an expert on dynasties and familial stuff around Germany. And Anton, you know, just knows her through his previous life as a sort of occult academic-y sort of thing, you know?
Okay, so while they've been having conversations with him, you've been on the telephone to Mrs. Kellerberg.
Well, yeah, or it was even a thing that, you know, as we were going into this mission, I was finding out, and she was giving me the sort of like, you know, half-hour long conversation while she just talked at me about the various dynasties that he might be looking into.
Fine. So increase your stress by 1 to call on the contact, and that gives you a reroll.
Gives me a reroll. That's a 5 this time.
That's better. Keeps you out of capture territory for heat. So on a 5, I can tell you. So you were interested in how Throndal fitted into this.
I think it's. Well, Throndal fits into it because that's kind of like our subject and what he stumbled into, isn't it? I think what I'm asking is, you know, of everything that he's researched so far, is there perhaps any sort of clue or context as to maybe like something about because he is far more than any of us here an expert on the Throndal history, you know?
Yeah. I think he will tell you that there's an arrangement whereby the eldest son of the family is always called Simon, and has been for generations. And he says that makes the whole research thing tricky, because you think which Simon is this? You know, is this the Simon who went to the Eastern Front in the First World War, you know, and confronted the Russians? Is this the Simon who ended up, you know, in the SS? And then very discreetly seemed to kind of just leave in time, and you know, the current one is this kind of this hot bachelor guy. So yeah, that makes life really complicated in terms of trying to plot them. So you're working really trying to, you know, so if he died then, then so that must be his, you know, so they are tricky, and the gaps in you know, that's where the Stasi was so good, because they were meticulous in what they recorded. So that you get that for nothing. But I think the thing that convinced him to come to Munich, you know, your friend wasn't interested in me telling them why I bothered to come, was that Dr. Bellfleur talked about the Moravian connection, and the fact is that the Throndal family originates in Moravia, which is now in Czechoslovakia, but at various points has been in various bits of European countries. You know, it had a large German-speaking population, part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire, and so the Throndal, you know, center of mass historically is down in Moravia, and the current, you know, the Throndal millions, if you read the society pages, a lot of that is still based out of Moravia. Does that seem like a useful?
I mean, just the aspect that they're called Simon, all of the, you know, giving the impression that this is probably the exact same Throndal rather than like at least two you know, rather than it being like generations of vampires, perhaps.
What I'm certainly wanting to give you the impression of is that this is not a young
same
vampire.
Yeah,
this is
yeah,
an old, possibly ancient vampire.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, for sure. And yeah, the Moravian. So I mean, I get an extra question, but I don't know if you were giving me both those things there.
I think I was giving both then.
Cool.
So you get the Simon for nothing, and then the center of mass of the family in Moravia, I think is the
the family originates from Moravia, right? Like even though we perceive of the line now as a German aristocratic line dynasty, it's actually like its seat is in Moravia in Czechoslovakia, where the communists would have had no time for aristocracy and things. So, you know, on paper, perhaps the Throndal line isn't really big in Moravia beyond its financial holdings that it's reinvested, perhaps.
Don't get me wrong. I mean, you know, the records suggest they hold a lot of land, a lot of buildings, a lot of real estate, in whole chunks. But you know, there is quite a mass of it around Moravia.
Yeah, and you know, as Anton would think of, well, that would be probably where Simon was turned.
Who knows?
You know, yeah.
Who knows? So I think that's all you're going to get from Rajesh. But I am curious now what you're going to do.
Let me check my rule book to see what I can do here.
Oh, showing off.
Showing off, indeed.
Yeah, you get no special treatment from me by having ordered a print copy.
The first print copy, I think, right? That's yeah.
It isn't mine.
Yeah, but yours doesn't count. You wrote it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I definitely want to. I want to get Rajesh out of here.
Well, look. While Will is leafing through his rule book.
Yeah, but I actually, now that I look,
looking for page 82.
It's marked stress to call on a contact to keep the prisoner on ice until after the next operation.
I was going to say, the rest of you without access to the book as we speak can simply look at the Heat and Intel tab, where you will find the debrief, fate of prisoners. So you have some options to get him safely home, or you can just put him out on the street and have him make his own way there.
Yeah, I suppose it's you know, it's just because none of those options to me say extract them safely.
I would allow you to either spend intel or stress to get him on a plane and know he's safely there, either by spending stress to have somebody babysit him there, or spending intel to know how to get him there safely.
I will spend intel.
Fine. And so, as Mia promised, who drives him to the airport and puts him on the plane?
I think Anton does. He is obviously the one who's calling the shots here, so then he can.
I mean, does anyone want to do more with him? I just Anton's really driven to see him safely out of here.
Yeah, go ahead. Take him
Like,
out.
I'd
Take him.
probably ride with you and just lecture him the entire time about
Eh.
how to use the internet safely.
And as we drive, Anton's just like, this is all very good advice. I didn't know any of this until Nia told me these things. I had people who took care of that for me, and
Yeah, you two have fun. I'm going to do some other. I'm going to go and find his car.
Because I was going to ask, because he will say, can we go via my car to pick up my stuff?
I think you better go with them, and we go and look at your car. Forget about the whole Throndal thing.
I'm not going to make you roll for this, Dylan. I think if you turn up to the car, you'll be able to take his laptop and his notes if you want them.
Yeah, I want them. I definitely, that's what I wanted from the beginning.
Mark an extra intel.
Cool.
And he goes, his bags are in the back, but there's no sign. They must have got the laptop. And of course, you've got a message from Dylan saying, I've got the laptop.
I'm looking at him and I'm saying, hey, be thankful, because these things can be tracked. And you want to get your nose out of the Throndal business, because if you don't, who knows where you'll end up. Listen to Mia, she knows stuff.
Okay. And you see him onto the plane, and he's back to Stanford with a story that he will tell to anyone who will listen, which is where those 2 heat come from. That's the end of our operation. Well done. Let's just deal with debrief formally. So debrief is also on the heat and intel. So was this a success? Did the team achieve the stated aim? Yes, you did. Did you finish a supernatural? No, you didn't. So for each yes, you reduce heat by 1. So I will reduce heat by 1, giving you a little bit more headroom before I have a chance to come after you. And then the next question, if you achieved your objective, then every operator automatically reduces stress by 1 down to a minimum of 1. So you know, and then we have downtime. But I'm going to suggest we've run a bit past our normal hour. So I'm going to suggest we take a pause now, and we will come back to downtime. Let's make it 20 past the hour. Okay.
See
you. See you then. Okay, back from our break, and so now we move into that downtime, that space between operations where there's an opportunity to lose some stress, if nothing else. I have added something around to Operation 2 around the Moravian connection, that a simple web search gives you some sense of where the Throndal business empire in Moravia is now located. And so you may want to work with that later on. But for now, let's move to downtime. So the way downtime works is you have a chance, and again, I refer you to the Heat and Intel tab. You have a chance to seek relief from the horror. You'll refresh your specialism bonus, your benefit if you used it, and reset load to light. So let's do the mechanical bit first. If any of you used your specialism bonus, there's a little box next to your specialism near the top of the character keeper. That now comes free again. And you can clear any equipment. You start from scratch with light loaded, and we'll work out where you go in Operation 2. So you don't have to keep any of that stuff, though you are stuck with the fact that you have declared a heavy. So as long as you're using the Munich safe house, you are stuck with heavy. So let's go in reverse order for a change. Let's start with Mia. Mia, what do we want to see Mia doing during downtime?
Oh, that's a heck of a good question. Which
she's
tab is
pretty
down?
Good at the minute, 2 stress. Maybe she just wants to sit it out.
Well, which tab is downtime stuff on?
Oh, it's on Heat and Intel. So it's
Intel. Okay.
Column P, rows 34, 35.
Column P, row 35.
Yeah, there's a little box down there.
Alrighty. Unless I can do something to reduce heat, I'll just chill.
Okay, well, you can. I want to give people a chance to
Sure.
because there is if you look at the intel block on that page, during downtime, you can spend intel to do those things. So
Okay.
so I'll come back round to you. I want to
Sure
deal
thing.
with any secret relief first. Moving along, sorry, we shouldn't call you Father Timothy unless we do Father Timothy. I'm just so keen having a defrocked priest on in the game. So Timothy, you're on 3 stress. Do you want to seek relief from the horror to reduce that? And if so, what do we see you doing?
Yeah, I would like to reduce my stress a bit. I think Timothy would. I think he would try to research what it could have been that he possibly encountered in the hospital as a way to like come to grips with what happened.
I think probably the closest I can get to is who would you talk to? Because there are a number of options on the seek relief. That doesn't sound like behave badly or indulge your vice. The closest I can get to is to look for guidance. If you seek the advice of a mentor, confidant, or someone else you trust, such as a priest.
Yeah, that sounds that sounds appropriate. So where do I find that?
There's a tab called Seek Relief from the Horror.
Yep.
And in the left hand of that box, you'll see Look for Guidance.
Yep.
So frame the scene for me. What do we see on screen?
Yeah, I think Timothy still has maybe the person who the bishop he served under when he was still like a parish priest before he got dragged into this whole supernatural business and the saints and that sort of thing. I think that someone he still has a lot of. He still trusts them. Him, I should say. It's going to be a man. It's Catholic Church, or at least, yeah, who knows? But yeah, he is going to talk to that person.
Is he retired or is he still, practicing, so to speak?
I think he's semi-retired. Like he's not. I think he's not officially retired, but he doesn't do much anymore.
Right, so kind of less official, more honorary duties, but he's still living in some kind of grace and favor building that the church has for him. So he may not be actively having a bishopric that he runs. And so, yeah, and do we see you sitting with him in his study? Are you sharing a drink? What are we seeing? What do we learn about the relationship?
I think having tea and possibly something stronger on the side, some sherry perhaps. I don't know what would be appropriate.
Served by a nun, inevitably. And Sister Agnes delivers some nice little petit four biscuits and a drink and coffee or tea to taste, and then discreetly leaves for you to have the conversation. So what do you actually tell him, or how do you open this conversation, Timothy?
I think the bishop knows that I was recruited to this saints investigation business, but he doesn't know anything beyond that.
He doesn't understand, Timothy. You were one of my most talented priests, and when you were promoted to work so close to the Holy Father, I was so pleased for you, and yet I hear so little of you.
My work put me in contact with people within the church who does not share our vision of what the church should be. I believe they serve more worldly interests.
It has always been the risk that with power comes corruption. I'm really sad to hear that. Does he know that you've left the church? I wasn't quite certain.
Yeah, he must know that. Or that I'm no longer a priest. I don't think I've been excommunicated or left the church. I'm still but a lay member.
And he, you know, that is the tragedy, that someone with your talents and your faith became so disillusioned with the church that you turned away from us.
Well, that wasn't entirely up to myself, but I believe I have found a new calling where my knowledge and my faith will aid me in pursuing a better world.
I think at this point I need you to roll the d6. You reduce your stress by 1. Roll the d6 because I need to get some sense, some steer on which way this conversation is going to go.
I drop my stress and I roll the die. And the die is 6. Oh
6.
my God.
Well, if I think your stress can reduce by another 1, but 1 is the minimum. It can't go to 0. But on a 4+, mark heat and describe what. Okay, so I know where he's going to go with this. So well, why? How can I help you, Timothy?
I've had some experiences lately where I've had to trust my instincts more than my rational mind. And
you know, I always taught Timothy that instinct is faith.
Yes. I'm not sure that entirely applies in this specific situation, but my trusting my instincts or my faith, both, I believe it both put me in great danger, but also saved me from that danger. And I'm not sure if that's the path I should pursue.
Timothy, you didn't come to me expecting me to say, trust in your rational mind and ignore your faith. Of course you must follow your, if you feel more comfortable these days to talk about instinct, then I'll accept that. But you know that I believe that what we're talking about is faith. And I am enormously reassured that though you may have lost some faith in the church, you have not lost your faith in God.
That is definitely true, and I still believe that that the church is the church in its ideal form is the truest path to salvation. But I do not know if the church will regain that ideal form in my lifetime.
Well, Timothy, I would settle for you trusting in your faith. And what I think we're getting to is the mechanic that says 4+, mark heat, and we'll worry about where that came from in a moment. So I'm going to mark heat, which puts us back to the top of alarmed. But it says, and describe what they ask you to do to restore their belief in you and how this draws the attention of the conspiracy of the team or makes things difficult for you during the next operation. Now, I've got a suggestion. My suggestion would be that he says to you, you must, when you have the same choice, you must make the same choice. When you are faced with the rational and with faith, call it instinct, you must believe that God is guiding your instincts and trust in your faith. And I think that does from me, but you know, that's what I'm going to put on the table. If you want to put something else on the table that complicates the next operation.
No. That sounds perfect. Because I think Timothy he's realizing more and more that the things he are up against may not be, he may not know enough to be able to apply his rational mind to draw the correct conclusions. So trusting his faith or his instinct is probably wiser.
Okay, so what this means is that you cannot go back to the bishop until you demonstrate what he is put an injunction on you to do. Yeah.
Cool.
And I think then probably we will have a slight cutscene which has the bishop talking to some other senior clergy about. Do you remember Timothy Warrens? A remarkably talented priest came to me the other day in a crisis of faith. But I think I may, you know, I still have hope that I can steer him back to the path. And one of the priests says, yes. By the way, did I tell you about the charitable contribution from the Throndal Foundation that we've had? Where should we go next? Let's go to Anton. Anton, do you want to seek relief from the horror?
Can you go, Dylan? Are you going to seek relief from the horror, Sabine?
Oh, was I going in the wrong direction?
No,
Sorry.
no, just because I need to pop away for a second. But if Sabine's not going to do it, then I can do it now. You know.
I don't think I need to have much to stress. This
cool,
should be fine. I think reducing heat is the better option here.
Okay, Anton.
Then I will do it, and I will seek solace in a relationship and say something new about my anchor.
Okay, tell us about
your
anchor.
And I think this is just a flashback, really, if anything, you know, cut away. You know, I am going to skip out of order of these ones, and I'm going to say what happened the last time I saw them. And what happened the last time I saw Professor Blake in person. I may have spoken to him, you know, over the phone or through other means since, but last time I saw him in person, he was telling me that I was being a fool, and that these you know, what he taught me was not meant to be used like this. That they would chew me up and spit me out. He'd seen it happen before, and I said that what was the point in, you know, learning any of these things if it wasn't to kill the darkness? And you know that I had to make
boy, that the darkness doesn't kill you.
Well, you've trained me well, old friend. It will be fine. I'll be back. Trust me. What is it that you know, the old college say? Our country needs us.
Fine. Well, that is the cheapest and nastiest way to reduce stress. Roll a d6 on the off chance a 6 comes up.
And that's a 6.
So you can reduce stress by 2.
Which puts me down to 1, which is nice.
Okay, but now Wilbur Blake is on the conspiracy target list, and I think we might see some people scrolling through potential contacts of an organization called the Pursuivants. World War II records, working backwards from that. Fine. Then that is seek relief done. Let's go around and see if we want to do anything else in downtime with respect to intel. So Dylan, you expressed an interest in spending some intel during downtime. You can use it to reduce your stress, to reduce heat.
No, I want to reduce heat. I think we need to get a little to muddle our tracks a little, right? Talk to some people, set out some rumors about some other people that we know and don't much like. I'm sure I know operators. I don't care about, and maybe the CIA is always a good target. Like, yeah, the CIA is very interested in this Rajesh fellow and stuff like that. Just to,
In fact, was Rajesh working for the CIA?
probably not knowingly.
I mean, that was a pretty
But
deep cover.
Probably nobody's that deep. No, they just use them as a pets. You know how they are, right? They don't tell people that they're working for them. Why teach somebody to do the job, right? When you can just use them as a pawn.
Okay. So if you erase a mark of intel, I will erase a mark of heat.
Yeah.
Is that enough?
Yeah, that's fine.
Mia, you also expressed an interest in spending some intel, I think.
Yep. Let's knock that heat down a little bit more.
So what kind of rumors are you spreading? Are you building on that one, or because you've got some CIA contacts that could make it real or more real?
Oh, Rajesh, actually an off the books asset.
Tremendous cover. Who'd have thought it?
Right? I mean, he's wildly inept, completely gullible, immensely trusting. I mean, that's exactly who you want in the CIA, right? And it's the perfect cover. He's such a doofus no one would ever suspect.
Brilliant. If you erase a point of intel, I will erase a point of heat. Does anybody else want to spend any intel? Because it's not an either or. Timothy, are you content to sit on your... you've just got the one, so maybe that makes sense.
I'll say that.
Is there anything else you want to spend that intel on at this point, or do you want to sit on it, Dylan?
I feel good sitting on my intel.
Mia?
You can buy hats from it with intel, so.
Intel can't buy you love. Mia?
Yes.
Do you want to sit on your intel, or do you want to spend some more?
Is it possible to reduce the heat more?
It is. You spend it 1 for 1.
Well, if I spend 1 more, I can get him out of alarmed.
You can.
All right, so let's do that.
So whatever alarms the raid on the hospital and the disappearance of Rajesh, the focus of the conspiracy now is in the US on Rajesh. And I think just to show that, we'll see him being trailed around Stanford by some suspicious looking guys. With
just
that
out of curiosity, did any of the OPSEC stuff that I just berated him with sink in? Is he noticing these people at all?
No.
Or
okay,
so he's ducking and hiding from completely non. Okay.
Yeah. He's convinced that there's a guy, a park keeper in the grounds of Stanford, who is watching him, and so all of his attention is on the park keeper, ignoring, the man and the woman who seem to be always running along that park lane when he's on his way to the office.
Well, that's just that's their schedule, right?
Indeed, they're very regular.
Yeah,
and they don't look at all suspicious.
But that groundskeeper, he feeds squirrels.
And he looks at me. We see Rajesh talking to a friend. That park. Have you noticed that park keeper? I think that park keeper's after me. Did I tell you what happened to me in Munich? And so that's we'll close and move towards Operation 2 then. So let me ask Timothy, do you think are you going to Moravia, Timothy? Is that what you're assuming here in terms of this operation, that you're going to set up shop and investigate the Moravian connection, or do you want to do something else with this?
No, that sounds sensible.
Is there anyone who's got an alternative? I'm not, you can go to Moravia or not. I can go either way on this, but it seems to me that there's either something more to do with the hospital than what Timothy encountered upstairs. Clearly, he's not keen to find out what that is at this point. Or there's Moravia.
Or is there not Dr. Belfleur in the Stasi files as well?
Sorry, yeah, there's Dr. Belfleur. That's very true. I should have written him in, or them in.
Does the laptop yield any further intel for us
That
any
it-
further where we would want to go.
I gave you an extra intel for it, so it
Okay.
can yield what you want it to yield in a way.
Okay, I think I would like us to go to Moravia because we want Throndal. We don't want his henchmen. We don't want to figure out what kind of lurk is running around in the hospital. And I don't think it was Throndal himself. He's not that. I've seen him. He likes people to look at him. And I mean, yeah, I get it. He's quite an eyeful. Well, anyway. But I would like to go after him and his family and maybe figure out something about his roots that we can use to actually unsettle him, set a trap for him. Because I think looking for weaknesses, we know what the weaknesses of vampires are basically, but we need him to get him in a place and a point at a time where he's out of balance, and where we can really put the pressure on him and where we can explode a building on him and then set him aflame in the sunlight. Basically.
You always have to kill Dracula in his tomb. It's another way of looking at it, right? Like this is going to Transylvania, basically.
Yeah. But you know, I don't think we have a really good choice because we could try to set us up as his arch enemies. But I don't know. We would have to find a pressure point first.
Well,
right?
we're working towards probably Throndal as the last operation, I'd just say. And on a meta level, I'd say that we have really what we're asking is that we got one more. If we cross off the hospital, because I don't think any of us wants to go back there.
No.
The last operation seems a bad place to return to. But the Bellfleur Stasi files are supposedly here in Munich. But I'm fine with leaving that as a dangling thread that we don't investigate, but because we can move the operation to Moravia and see what comes up there.
I like going to Moravia. I'm not that huge of a fan of Munich myself.
Mia, you've not said anything. Looks like Moravia's on the cards.
I'm just going to shrug. It's like, look, I can do most of what I need to do from wherever we are.
Okay. Well, I have simply said in terms of where the operation is going to take place, it appears to be in Moravia. In terms of an operational objective, is this still intelligence gathering on Throndal? And I'll aim to refine that a bit if I can.
Yeah, I think I want to find some sort of pressure point, right? What buttons do we need to push to make him lose caution, basically.
So it's intelligence or leverage of some kind on Throndal, something that you can put him somehow, get him into the open or whatever else. Yeah, fine. We'll try and refine that a bit as we go.
Find something Throndal wants or is scared or is afraid of.
Yeah.
Right? Two different.
Yeah.
So I think I started with Dylan last time in terms of structuring the operation. So this time I will start with Will asking you, who or what is the focus of the operation?
You didn't start with me. No, you didn't. You ended with me last time.
Oh, did I? Oh, let me go the other way then. Let me. I must have started with Mia last time. Let me go to Timothy.
I think you started with me actually last time.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, because we already had Rajesh defined. So I remember just being like.
Because you knew the most about how these things worked.
Yeah. Okay. Then we'll let me start with Anders then. Anders, Operation 2. Who or what is the focus? And we'll work out how that fits into our broad plot as we go. So there's a drop down on tab Operation 2 with some suggestions, or down the bottom of there it says something else or someone else, I think.
Well, I think if our goal is to find some way to provoke a response or make him do something, then doing something to his business empire could be a way to do that.
Okay.
So finding some way to make that vulnerable could be interesting, perhaps.
Okay, so is there one of those that kind of fits? Is this about hitting a business leader or a company or a corporation, or is it about connecting him to some of the things at the bottom of that list? Secrets, valuables? Because we can probably get to his empire in all kinds of ways.
Actually, he must have some way to handle the transition from one Simon to the next. And that would probably, at least in the last 100 years, involve some kind of lawyers. So trying to find out who his lawyers are and see what documentation they have, maybe
Okay.
something like that.
Do you want to go after an individual or the lawyer's company?
The company, I think. We want their files. We don't care about the people.
Can I suggest secrets then?
Yeah, sure.
Is what you're after?
Sure.
Yeah, okay. We know the target's in Moravia, but Mia, where, if you hit the drop down for where's the target, is there something on there that will help us get to these secrets? Where are these secrets kept?
Ooh.
And it needn't be in a corporate skyscraper.
Yeah, no, I was thinking that these papers are either, and tell me which sounds more interesting, either in a bank safe or in a law firm's safe. And when I say safe, I'm talking like full-on walk-in. This would be like the oldest, most established law firm in Moravia.
Okay, okay.
So which sounds more interesting?
Well, I mean, I know what the combination would get you there. There's the offer of subterranean, and then there's the offer of vault.
Works for me.
Okay, so if I hit subterranean, I think that gives us vault as an option. A subterranean vault somewhere in Moravia. Okay, moving round now to Dylan. What is the level of threat that you want to set for this?
I mean, they are that. Oh, what's the threat that we will face?
Opposition.
Yeah, I'm. It's loading. It's loading. Nameless, organized. No. Paramilitary. No, we had that. Named occultists or supernatural servitors. But I like the occultists. Like maybe these lawyers. Well, you know. It's not called the laws of magic for no reason, right? So I think that's
named
what we're
occultist.
facing.
Does that appeal?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, one of the senior partners is well, she's actually. I mean, maybe Anton has heard of her, right? Does she need a name now? Let me check something and then I'll come back to you.
I put senior partner, she, her.
Yeah. I'm looking up a name. I'll Google a name and I'll slot it in.
And then I come to Will. They are choose what this senior partner is about. And each of these, I think, has something else on or someone else on the bottom of it. So, don't feel they are meant to inspire, not limit.
Yes, yeah. I think that what they are doing is I think that they are collecting or stealing occult materials, artifacts. But what I think by that I mean is that we already know that Throndal is searching for the Van Helsing bloodline, and these lawyers appear to be, doing all kinds of legal work related to that. Like they are hunting down, like trying to get suppressed records released, that kind of thing.
Okay. So I've got legal work on the Van Helsing bloodline.
Yeah.
Just give me a bit more meat in terms of where that edges into the occult, beyond the fact that You know.
They are doing all of the legal legwork for Throndal's conspiracy, which has an occult motivation to it. You know,
I'm with you. Fine, including presumably medical records on potential candidates.
Yeah, and you know, when
those medical records could constitute what they want. Find a tissue sample somewhere.
Exactly, yeah. And it's, you know, genealogy, that kind of thing. Like, and I would just also say that, like, when I say the Van Helsing bloodline, that's maybe what stands out to us. But perhaps they are looking into. I don't want to feel anyone limited to that. It's just maybe it's the Throndal bloodline. Who knows? You know, like, feel free to go play with it, I would say.
Fine. Okay, so that's our broad outline. We are looking to get some kind of leverage or to bring Throndal into the light somehow, to put him in a certain place at a certain time. And you're going to try and do this by finding some secrets in the Throndal family lawyers. They are located in a subterranean vault in Moravia. That doesn't mean that they're in an office building. That vault could be anywhere subterranean. Opposition, senior partner Elishka Copeland is the named occultist who is engaged in this, and she is leading the team doing the legal work on the Van Helsing bloodline, because we know that Throndal is looking for candidates so he could try to reconstruct whatever the genetic factors that he believes made Van Helsing more than human. That is brilliant. I like that. So we now, I think I can do a bit of investigation before we take another short break. I tell you what, no, it makes logic. Let's just take 5 minutes now and then come back on the hour, and we'll do investigation and hopefully do a bit of prep in terms of operation for next time. Okay? Fine. I'm curious how you're going to get to Moravia before we do anything else. You know, are you traveling together? Are you traveling separately? Timothy, are you traveling with someone?
Maybe. I think he'd be quite comfortable traveling on his own, but he wouldn't mind having some company.
Well, who's his chosen traveling companion then, as you drive across Germany and Czechoslovakia towards Moravia?
I think he'd prefer to travel with Anton. I think he finds Dylan a bit glib and Mia a bit too abrasive.
Fine. So Anton, what's the conversation like in the car?
I think. Do you talk about the presence that you felt within the hospital?
Yeah, I think they get around to it, like after a while, not right away, but I think
maybe even Anton will say, you know, as we sit in a sort of strange silence, and Anton will just go, "What did you see in the museum, in the hospital?" Sorry.
Yeah,
Logical assumption you didn't jump out of that window for nothing.
Yeah. I didn't see much beyond the covered windows and the fact that it didn't look like a hospital on that floor, but
you felt something though, yes?
I felt something.
You should trust those feelings.
That's what my bishop told me as well.
But you must to do what we are doing. You must trust that they are real, and then still turn around and fight whatever is coming if you can.
I know that there are things out there that do not fit within the traditional view of the world, either neither the churches or the one of secular society, but
There are
Yes,
terrible there are terrible things in the darkness, Timothy. Terrible things.
that much I know.
Yeah, that feels like a nice conversation to me. Yeah,
Mhm, mhm.
you're muted, Alan.
Mia, are you traveling with Dylan or separately?
I mean, given the option, I'd always travel with Dylan.
Exactly. So what kind of conversation is there? Do you have I'm curious to have a conversation about Rajesh, or what do you talk about, Dylan? Let me not limit you.
I think it's odd that you didn't ask me if I wanted to travel with Mia, but of
Oh,
course I
that's
want-
very true. I'm sorry. Yes, I should.
Yeah, but it's fine. I'm traveling with Mia. She drives. I drive the car. She drives her laptop, and I talk about Anton and Timothy, of course. I mean, what else would we?
New kids on the block.
Yeah, right. We haven't worked with them before, so
Is this
Magic.
a good time for me to begin to tease out who you might care most and least about?
I mean,
Or-
you know who I care most about,
And
but you
vice
can't
versa.
tease, and you can tease out who I care least about.
I let's have the conversation that might lead us to filling in some more on that, because I'm curious where
Yeah.
this conversation goes.
Yeah. So, what do you think, magic guy and ex-priest?
Can you believe that bullshit he pulled at the hospital? I mean, I gave him the route and he fucking disappears, and the next thing I know, he's jumping out a goddamn window. Where was he when
Yeah.
you needed support?
I didn't need his kind of support. Yeah, it's fine. He can jump out
Look.
of all kinds of windows that he wants.
I'm just saying, if somebody had pulled a gun in there, he's one more target that isn't you.
Yeah, I'm a bit worried. You're right to be worried. I mean, he's on our mission, and it's odd that he goes off track, right?
Look, one of the reasons that we've done so well in the past is that when we have to improvise, we're in the same room, we look at each other and we know things have gone completely sideways. It's fucking pear-shaped, and it's time to use the explosives. You know,
Right.
we don't just like run off and randomly do shit.
We
I
don't.
mean, that's not a plan. Running off and randomly doing shit is not a plan. A plan is when you identify steps to take and you follow those steps.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure that we're always that much on point or on plan, but what I don't like is that he didn't contact us. He didn't use the comms. He didn't say, I'm doing this.
Nope.
And that worries me. He never said anything afterwards about it either.
You know,
How much do we know about this guy?
I don't know, but I'm going to put a fucking RFID chip on it. Because at least that way I'll be able to tell where the hell he is.
Yeah. Well, wait, he has his comma unit, and you're telling me you can't track that.
I could,
Ah.
but if he ditches his comms, then what? I've got to chip him like he's a puppy or a cat or something.
Okay.
Does that give us something to add to the character sheet? Mia, which member of the team do you care least about at this point? Or maybe not.
Who are you asking first?
I'm starting with Mia.
Okay. I think at this point I'm merely annoyed. You know, this is basically just venting and me figuring out a way so that we can like stay on task and I can try to make sure all of us get out of this alive. So I don't feel like it's gotten to a point where I care least about Timothy, because that implies that, and to me, it almost implies a kind of malice. Like,
Oh no,
if somebody's getting left behind, it's you.
No, it's deliberately phrased as least and most. You care about all of them. You trust all of, you have connections with one another going back in time. So you trust one another. You're a team. You don't have many friends. And even if these people aren't your friends, they're your colleagues. So it is deliberately phrased as care most and least, not care an awful lot and not at all.
Okay. I mean, I think it is absolutely 100% obvious that I care most about Dylan. I mean, for God's sakes, we live in the same town in Mexico.
Yeah, I take that one for granted. But I am going to pin you down on the least. In which case, is it Timothy or Anton at this point? Timothy, fine. If you can put those onto the character sheet, that would be great. And I think, given the conversation, I'm curious. I'm curious about Dylan. We know you care most about Mia, but what about putting?
I mean, Anton seems to be okay. He's a killer. I like that about him. Timothy is a priest. I don't like priests. I'm sorry, but I don't.
No.
And the bullshit he pulled at the hospital, that didn't endear him to me. But I think that started out with him being a priest, which doesn't mean that I don't like him per se, but it's the one I wouldn't. I actually think Anton is competent and good to have him around. So
yeah, he delivered. You know, he did what he was supposed to do back in the hospital.
And he's I like the fact that he is not a sentimental guy. So I thought he was not a sentimental guy. I might be wrong about that.
Timothy, at this point, are you in a position to tell us who you care most and least about?
I think he cares most about Anton because they have at least similar experiences with the supernatural. And I think this trip together has connected them a little bit, at least as he feels.
Yeah, that works for me. So down there on row 28, 29, you'll find which member of the team do you care most about? And you'll also find down below that which member of the team do you care least about. So it might be shading, but you know, Dylan or Mia.
Yeah. I think at this point it's Dylan, because Mia has the technical skills that are really important, but I don't think he quite values what Dylan brings to the team at the moment.
Just pretending and being nice.
Yeah, I mean, anyone can do that. Like, obviously he knows that Dylan is very good at it, but it seems like it seems less important to him. Probably because he's used to having the kind of authority where you don't need to be nice. So I think he values that.
Fine. And then finally, I think you've made a choice about care least as well, Anton.
Yes. And I'll confess that was more of a working backwards from the mechanics and the arrangements rather than I could have chosen anyone. But I think it's Dylan. And I think that Anton, you know, just generally, again, this is definitely not a doesn't care. This is a cares least, and it's because Dylan can take care of himself, and Anton believes that he will take care of himself because it's for the excitement for him. It's, you know, it's not a cause. He won't die for it if it comes down to it.
Okay, fine. So, cat to Moravia. Again, I'm not going to bother to define the safe house until we might need it, or I've got a bit more heat in hand. But let's run around the table, deciding whether you want to have an investigation scene or whether you want to hold off and do a bit of preparation that would give you some fictional positioning at the start of the operation. I've lost track of where I got to in my genuine effort to try and start in different places. I've blown it badly. So I am going to start with Dylan. Dylan, do you want to do some investigation? See, I've defaulted to far left again. I just lack the imagination or the organization to do better. I apologize. Dylan, do you want to do a bit of investigation to flesh out something about your target or where it is or where they are?
Absolutely, because running in half-cocked is not it's a good way to get yourself killed.
Absolutely true. So what, are you interested in finding out more about the files, about where this subterranean vault is, or about the opposition, or something else? What's the focus?
I'm a people person, right? I don't usually get into the nitty gritty of, or maybe I do. I mean, there is probably, this is Europe, right? There are gotta be records. And there's gotta be a person at a record office who is maybe not too hard on the eyes, or maybe he is, who knows, or she, and I can talk to, and I can figure out, and I get some kind of plans for this building, because we know there is a subterranean basement. Maybe there are records there of that. I mean, we're not in Prague. It's a pity. We're on some. I did
pull up some maps. Let me share a screen, give you some idea of where we might be geographically.
Yeah, that would be nice.
So here's Poland and Germany. Down here is the Czech Republic, and Moravia is down here on the other side of the border from Katowice. And what I found interesting was that there appears to be a decent sized town here. And I think that while this is a multinational company, the strange thing is that they're headquartered in this town.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's odd.
Yeah, because that reinforces the Throndal connection, I think. And when I went in here a bit closer, somewhere I cannot pronounce Moravska or Ostrava are Privots. My apologies, Czech observers. Somewhere in this town is where the headquarters is. Ostrava, that's the name of the town. So somewhere in central Ostrava is where we find the headquarters of this company. Does that seem fair?
Okay. But so there must be some records of subterranean stuff and things, and you're still screen sharing.
I am, yeah. Just to show off that fantastic character keeper.
Yes.
So yeah, let's have you convince someone at the local mayoralty, some kind of to share some plans. What's your excuse for wanting the plans, Dylan?
Oh, I'm a historical researcher. I research walls and structural integrity of these things. I'm very, very shy and interested in such things.
Okay. Well, let's see how that conversation plays out as an investigation then. So you have all the persuasive skills in the world. So you have expertise. You can put your stress dice in here if you want to.
No, I'm not stressing myself out over this. Not yet. Come on, roll me something. That's 5.
That's a 5. So the basic information is it's a fascinating historical site. There are whole chunks of this town that are built over very ancient mines. Some people think these mines go back 1,000 years, let alone 100 years. And the whole area here, it used to be entirely run on in terms of coal mining. And so there are all kinds of subterranean spaces under the town. But so yeah, I could see the interest, and certainly you could. Here's the plan of the building, because they're publicly available, and I'm interested, and he's clearly interested to support you, not historical research, because Dylan is cute. There's no question.
Yeah. Well, I will remain rather oblivious of his interest because I'm this historian, right? And historians don't care about people, they care about maps, and they care about walls, and they care about history. That's mainly what I'm interested in, the history of that thing. Because if this is related to Throndal, I want to know if there is a connection actually to that family.
Then I think I can tell you the answer to that question. The mine beneath Ostrava it belonged to the Throndal family.
Okay.
And the basement level of this, and this isn't a vast corporate center. This is a provincial town with a big office block in it. Clearly expensive, but it's not 20 stories high. It's maybe 8 stories high. But he understands that they're a legal firm and they have all kinds of really they work across the world and all the everything's stored here. And he understands that they've repurposed some of the mine spaces as for their kind of secure storage. It helps in terms of shoring up some of that mining area so we get less subsidence. It works every which way. And the Throndal family have always been very, very generous in supporting the town and a lot of its efforts.
It's probably not publicly available to go in there and look at.
Oh no, I don't think so. I think that the survey data, the kind of building regulation data, it shows where they've kind of you can see tunnel goes off in this direction, tunnel goes off in that way, but there's the vault. There's the kind of subterranean basement levels.
Well, that was very informative. I will thank him and very profusely. And yeah.
And in terms of what you can add in there, in terms of the where, you have a building layout and a layer and 2 sub-levels, and how they relate to some of the surrounding original mine workings. Yeah?
Okay, so there might be actual tunnels that run in there. Okay.
Far be it for me to suggest that as a possibility, but that would be a possibility.
Okay.
So let's move along then. Anton, do you want to reserve for a bit of fictional positioning, or do you want to do a little bit of digging?
I think I want to reserve to do some spellcasty preparation.
Okay. Let's be clear, to gain some fictional positioning. That's what a preparatory scene is for.
Yes, but we can do to put like a ward on me or something. Can it not be to do a roll in advance to use a spell?
Yeah, I mean, all I'm saying to you is you could do that as your first action in the operation. I don't want to give you a preparatory scene that is no different from
the scene that we could just frame the scene as that's what we do before we go to the job site. Yeah, okay, I get your point. Then I will do an investigation scene as well then. Okay,
so what are you interested in finding out?
I think I'm interested in finding out about Miss Dimitrova, who, there must be something about her that tips us off that she's an occultist, right? Like, that's what I'm looking into. I would like to look into that aspect of her, like, what about these lawyers and this woman in particular, perhaps, is in this shadow world of even shadowier world, right? Like,
I think again, I'm going to allow law here. It's whether you can dig into any of those networks to find stuff out that might give you some clue. So yeah, with expertise, stress dice if you want it.
No, I'll leave my stress dice. I'm going to start casting magic soon. I want to have the stress to burn. That's a 5.
That's a 5. So for nothing, I will tell you that Dimitrova family is associated with Throndals across several generations. When Simon Throndal the Elder was a member of the SS, his Batman was called Dimitrova. His army servant was called Dimitrova. The Dimitrovas are intimately connected to the Throndal family, back as far as the eye can see.
Yeah.
You'll get that for nothing. What else do you want? You can suggest to me something you discover, or you can ask me something.
I would like to, she would count as a supernatural, right, on this page of supernaturals?
Not technically. She's a
Okay.
named, special operative for them.
Right, okay.
So she will have access to the power you would expect, wards, bindings, and portents, or whatever it's called. But you can declare her to be a supernatural if you want to, which would move her up into, thrall company.
Yeah, but then that's just escalating the difficulty for no reason, isn't it, really?
I thought that was where you were wanting to go. But...
No. You've got heat to burn if you want to do that, and you will do, I'm sure. I would, I guess I would like to define her power then, specifically, perhaps, or limit it, like by defining it, limit it perhaps, or something.
Okay.
I'm not sure how that would work.
Well, the standard one is you can
wards,
expect
bindings,
any occultist, is to have wards, bindings, and spells.
Okay.
And generally speaking, that gives me the same kind of range of what she can do as if you look at what you could do with Harness the Dark. Attract, distract, confuse, hide, negate, blah, 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 blah.
So what I think I would like to declare is that her magic is blood magic, and therefore it's going to be limited by blood base. You know what I mean?
The availability of blood.
The availability of blood, yeah.
Fine. Well, don't put that down as a supernatural.
I'll put that in the details.
Into the information on her. Yeah.
Yeah.
So her occultism is blood magic.
Yeah.
Fine. That works for me. Okay, let's keep going. Let's get to Timothy. Timothy, do you want to reserve for some fictional positioning at the start, or do you want to do a bit more digging in terms of thickening out your briefing for this op?
I think I'd like to do some investigation. I'd like to hit my surveillance. I should be able to use that for something. Are we aiming mainly for Elishka, or are we? I mean, because I could like tail her, see who she hangs out with, or I could keep an eye on the law firm or mines, or I'm not sure what would be the most interesting target.
I'm open-minded. Does the table have any suggestions what they'd most like to know about?
I think we still need a route into the building, I suppose. Like a plan, kind of like a casing the joint, like a weak point to access what we're after.
Something where you can use your burglar expertise, maybe.
Because you're our Catholic burglar.
I'm actually crossing.
That sounds good.
The gentleman cracksman and Father Brown is the strange intersection we find ourselves in. So Timothy, is this a question of following her or observing the building, or?
I think observing the building, like keeping track of where people come and go at what times, that sort of thing.
Okay. So where are you? Where do we see you staking them out? Well, just frame a scene that shows you doing that.
I think there's like a small cafe or a cafe anyway across the street, and Timothy spends a lot of time there, like reading a newspaper or reading a book and just watching people go by. But all the time he's actually checking the building.
Well, surveillance is absolutely the skill to do that with. So you have expertise. So you're rolling the gray dice and the orange dice. You can always add the stress dice to increase your chance of success.
I think I will. I want this to go well.
Oh, doesn't that go well? I wish a pair of sixes were worth more than one. But given that neither of them is on the stress die, that's not so bad. So on a 6, the basic information I'll get you is that you will spot Elishka arriving and regularly at the office, and across maybe a week you try to establish some kind of pattern. So you're always drinking coffee there when people are arriving, and then you're kind of checking on when they're leaving. And what's interesting is that you see Alishka leave, but you never see her arrive through reception. You see her arrive in her car, and she parks in the kind of parking garage next to the building. But you don't see her leave. You don't see her. She doesn't go through reception. Strange, but true. But you sometimes see her leave through reception. Yeah. So that you get that for nothing. So I think the reasonable piece of intelligence you gather is that there's some other way in. Yeah. And then with a 6, you can ask me 2 questions, or you can offer me some interesting stuff that you tell me something about this, or you can prompt me to tell you something about it.
Yeah, I think I'd like to know what kind of like personnel security they seem to have. Do they have, are there people who seem like guards, or is it just regular office workers, that sort of thing?
I think certainly in terms of reception, it looks like standard reception staff. There are not sinister men with bulging jackets, or sinister women in slim-fitting jackets that it's difficult to imagine how they fit a gun under. No, reception seems to be fairly standard. Yeah. So there's one thing you've got. You've got a second one you can ask me for, or suggest.
I think I'd like to suggest something like they hire external cleaners, people who come to clean. What do you call them?
Caretaking, cleaning staff.
Yeah.
They're external. There's a cleaning company that they hire.
Cleaning company, and it's not always the same people who come to take care of those things, which could give us a way in, possibly.
Okay, I put some stuff into the where. See if that. Apart from the fact I can't type. See if that fits in. But also mark intel, because you rolled a 6. But also on a 6, something you see worries you. What is it that you see during this surveillance stakeout that leaves you worried enough to roll for stress in a moment?
Well, one obvious thing would be that there's I don't know if this is too dangerous, but like there's a room in the building where they clearly don't pull back the drapes. The windows are always covered.
Shall we say one of the corner offices?
Yeah.
Always has the drapes closed. ... Yeah. That works for me. Okay. Mia.
Was I supposed to roll something?
Oh, sorry. Yes, you were. You rolled a 6, so now I need you to roll the stress dice. And if the stress dice comes up higher than current stress, that worries you enough to increase stress by 1. Oh,
roll a 6.
No brainer.
No, it definitely does.
Congratulations. Yeah. I think Timothy comes back to the safe house that we haven't yet defined and says, I have a bad feeling about, the 8th floor. Mia, Do you want to reserve for a bit of preparatory fictional positioning, or do you want to do a bit more investigation?
I want to know more about their network. Would you rather I do that as investigation, or would you rather I do that as prep?
I think if you want, as last time, if you want to try and crack the system,
yeah,
then I think that is probably fictional positioning. Because I can't see, I'd be able to tell you stuff about the network, but what you actually want is some control of it, don't you? Or am I wrong?
At least at the outset, I want to know if I can actually get to the network or if it's closed off.
Okay. Okay. Well, let's treat it as investigation then, I think.
Okay.
Because then you'll know what you might have to do when the op starts.
Exactly.
Yeah, because I think you're expecting this to be tougher than a secure hospital.
Yeah, I mean, who cares about that?
Okay, so let's have you roll to investigate with your digital intrusion stress dice if you'd like to put it in.
Indeed. Also, it's interesting to me that I just looked at the dice and they rolled and it came up 666. Huh.
Now, isn't that weird? That is just scary. So stress dice is as high as anything else, so stress automatically goes up by 1, but that means you won't have to roll for stress. It can only go up once for any action. But on a 6, I tell you the basic information, which is there's a kind of public-facing bit of the network, but you are struck by the fact that the network proper, when you try to get in through the web page and you try to get in through the phone lines, you are surprised by how secure that network is. So that you get for nothing. Now, do you want to ask me 2 things about the network that might give you a way in?
Yeah. Are there any? It doesn't. This might have been part of what you were getting at, but does that suggest that there are no external access points?
I think what I can tell you is I can give, I'm going back to 1998 and I'm running Cyberpunk 2020. I can give you some sense of what the layout of the system is, yeah? And I think what I can tell you is that the lower floors are a unit. The 8th floor is a separate, more secure unit. But there appears to be some kind of secure digital connection that runs out of the building into that parking garage I talked about. So where it goes after that, you're not certain. But that's your first question, if you will, first answer to your question. Does that seem like a fair bit of information?
Just to confirm, the 8th floor is its own network.
Yes.
Okay. And floors sub-basements through 7 are their own network.
The ground up to 7 appears to be 1-1. 8 is separate and more secure. And it's not clear how the basement is connected.
Okay.
All I can tell you is that there appears to be a data line that goes out from the building into the parking garage next door. Now, you could ask me another question that might get us further, but that's your answer to the first. That's what I'm giving you for your first question or your first bit of information. But you get 2 because you rolled a 6.
I want to know where that data line goes.
Okay. It is clear that that parking garage appears to have a data infrastructure that is as secure as the 8th floor. But it seems weird.
It's a parking garage. Of course, having any data infrastructure there is weird.
Exactly.
But
maybe
secure?
There's a line that goes to the local, company that runs the parking system, but that's about it. But there is a secure data line that goes from the 8th floor into the parking garage, and the parking garage appears to have a data infrastructure. Now, where that is in physical space is trickier for you to determine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Fair enough. So I get intel from that as well,
You
right?
you do, and you may put 2 and 2 together later on to work out what's going on.
All right. And I already marked my stress going up by 1.
So you don't have to roll for stress.
Right.
You know, this is in terms of hacking, this is scary enough. You know, this is a very secure system that's at work here.
I mean, it's in a parking garage. That's actually scarier.
Exactly. Okay, so we have, that is the operation that you framed. I do now want to ask if any of you want to frame an obstacle. As it says on the right-hand side there, obstacles, complications. What do you want to be seen doing that would be cool? Describe an obstacle or complication that would frame you looking cool. So let me go back the other way. Start with Mia. Mia, do you want to spend intel to define an obstacle? It gives you a bit of control because it reduces the number of complications I can throw at you.
Nah.
What about Anton? Sorry, what about Timothy? Sorry, keep to my order.
No, I think I'll save my intel.
Oh, this is like playing Fate with Lowell. I'll just hoard those fate points for a little longer.
Yeah, but I had 2. That's not a huge amount, I feel like.
Anton, what about you?
I've only got the 1. And if you escalate to a supernatural, then I'd really like to be able to declare a thing or manage my stress with it. But I really like doing it. So I guess the challenge that I would specifically like to see is, well, an occultist versus an occultist, right?
You want an occultist duel of some description.
Yeah.
Okay, so what you want to be seen doing is confronting an occultist with the dark.
Is confronting the darkness.
It is. Yeah, so just put something into that effect, because I think that is both what you want to be seen doing and the obstacle you will face. Yeah, so what you all need to know is that until that happens, no one can kill Elishka, right? She is going to survive anything else you throw at her until that duel happens.
Oh no, I mean I would take it as I could be fighting her work. Yes, yeah. But I could be confronting her her workings. You know, I want to see a magical obstacle that could be a person or a thing. You know.
Oh well, no, let's be clear then. Is this overcoming a magical barrier or a magical person?
I mean, the magical person would probably be more dramatic and deadly, right? I think I'd like that more than the thing, but who knows what it could be? You know, there could be blood magic, death curses or whatever, right?
You want to be seen confronting a magical threat.
Yeah, and her if it plays that way, but I'm not
going
to limit everybody else's scenes basically if it comes up, you know.
And finally, Dylan, do you want to spend a point of intel to define an obstacle you would look cool doing or overcoming?
I don't know. I mean, I don't want to take myself out of the action that is happening. And if defining an obstacle would do that, then I won't.
I mean, no. I mean, I will continue to throw obstacles at you, all come what may. All this does is put more of the control of what those obstacles are in your hands rather than mine. I'm very happy to hang on to them. Don't let me force your arm. I'll find something for Dylan to do. Don't worry.
Okay. I think that I'll be good for that.
Okay. Now, I think that's probably where we'll stop, because I think rather than, you know, taking you to the edge of the building and saying, and we'll finish that next time. So I think probably we will close with you lot leaving the safe house, which we've carefully not defined because we don't need to at this point, and heading towards the office block or that bit of town. Yeah, in whatever vehicle you've hired. And so let's pause and we'll pick that up next time. And my objective will be to play through that and probably do some of the prep for our finale, which is intended to be a confrontation of some kind with friend Throndal. Yeah.
Is that this operation already, or is that the next one?
I think this one. This is session 2. Session 3 will be this operation.
Okay,
Session 4 is intended to be our finale.
because I have a complication and obstacle that I want for when we confront Throndal. But
Okay. Yeah. Somehow we will get to that by the end of this, start of the next one. Oh, I do need to check in and just say, operational objective: get the secret files in the vault. Is that still the best description of the obstacle, of the objective?
Yeah.
Yeah, because it's no fun unless we see a priest crack a large bank vault, is it? Why did you bring the priest? He's a safe cracker. It's obvious. Okay. So let's do a quick stars and wishes then, if that's okay. In a random order, Anton, Will, any stars, any wishes?
Stars, I do enjoy when we have a more compressed, decompressed episode. It is fun, as much as I do enjoy the pace and everything else. It's nice to take a moment in between sessions, I think. So a big start to everyone for that, and for the slower pace and having character scenes and a sort of like very organic interrogation of the person we'd rescued and all of those little bits, feeling it out. I always enjoy that. Those would be my stars, like all of those scenes that we had together and defining the least and most cared about in a conversation.
Any wishes?
Wishes, I would like this operation to give us some of Throndal's weaknesses and deterrents, and I haven't had the intel, and I don't think we really had the fictional positioning after that debrief to really do much with that, because we got to declare a deterrent before we can declare a weakness.
Yeah.
So
now, in terms of my conceptual of the series, it was find out where to find out what you know, what you need to know, find what you need to know, and then finally use what you know. So that's my working assumption.
Yeah.
And I'll find some way to make sure that intel comes your way.
Yeah, but that's in parallel to the one that we have, which is to perhaps be able to set Throndal up for our takeout with this objective of what he wants. And my other final wishes is just I would like to use my magic to set up some wards on people. Give everyone the elder sign before we go into the supernatural cult's den or whatever.
I mean, I think when you start talking about the elder sign, it's almost like crossing the streams of Star Wars and Star Trek. You have to be careful, I think, where you go with your elder sign.
Yeah.
Okay, no particular order. Let's go to Sabine. Any stars, any wishes?
Stars. It was a fun session. As Will said, a bit more getting to know the characters and get to see how they take and what they think, how they think. I like that. And wishes. I would like to have maybe Tim actually see what I do and come to appreciate that a little more. Because I feel that he's just talking. Yes, I'm just talking when I'm talking to save your life, my friend.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's nice. I like that. I'll do my best, but it will come down to finding a way to put the two of you in the right place at the right time.
Hey, it's a wish. My wishes are usually like, if I don't get it, it's fine. It's just something I would love to see. I
like to grant wishes.
Yeah,
it's a weakness of mine.
But these are wishes that pertain actually to something that Anders has to do. So
fair point. Round we go. Puckett, any stars, any wishes?
Yeah, stars all around. I think my favorite parts of this session were the interrogation and how each person handled their part of it, and then the car ride. Because, it's like, as characters, we don't know this, but as players, we're sitting here and we're seeing how things are kind of not splitting up, but we're getting a better sense of how people are thinking about their role in things, how people view their responsibilities to the team and so forth. Wishes for next time?
Mm-hmm.
I want everybody to see Dylan really go to work as one wish. And then second wish, because we already know Anton is a badass. We haven't had a chance to see Timothy doing anything except kind of using the force and realizing that he almost got, necked by something. So I'd like to see Timothy in a situation where we can see Timothy's value to the team.
Yeah. So there's something about just finding what you're asking me to do is to I quote, frame a scene to show you doing something that you're good at and be cool. Yeah.
More or
So,
less.
you know,
I'm asking you to actually do what you have already stated that you need to do as the GM.
Yeah. Spot on.
But Timothy really hasn't had a chance to do anything like that yet.
No, he hasn't. He hasn't.
So,
you know, sneaking in through the smoking door at a hospital doesn't count as the same as cracking a bank vault. Yeah, absolutely. Fine. And then finally, Anders, what about you?
Yeah,
Stars, wishes?
What everyone else said, I like the interpersonal scenes, and I like the mix of the operational stuff and the more personal, character-oriented stuff. I like having that the contrast, I guess, between doing the spy work and doing and seeing who these characters are. That was a lot of fun.
Wishes?
No, not really. Just see where this goes.
Fine. Okay. Stars from me. I'm glad. I really struggle not to go pacey. So I'm really, so it was, conscious about do not rush, give space. Do not rush, give space. Jason Zane and I have a conversation about the fact that he thinks that I somehow magically put an operation into every session. It's because I rush. And so I'm pleased that you enjoyed not rushing through today and just having the space. Whether I can keep that up on 2 consecutive sessions, I just don't know. But I loved the scene between Timothy and the bishop. Loved that. I enjoyed being able to put a bit of voice to Professor Blake. And I continue to love the Dylan Mia double act. And I was so pleased that I'd been really disappointed, Sabine, if you decided not to travel with Mia, because I was hoping that we would get a little bit of interchange. And I loved the way that those pairs of scenes then got us to a place where least and most, cares least, cares most, seemed a natural extension rather than a kind of, okay, pick them. Brilliant. Thank you for all of those things. My wish is to deliver your wishes. But for now, let me stop the recording